And we're live and we're live. Peace, peace. Greetings to you all. It's your brother Naheem, aka Lord Abbott, aka Mr. Just the Facts. Tonight, we're just gonna run through a brief breakdown of the census and what it is and why it's important. And I want to kind of touch on some of the arguments that's happening in the Moorish movement surrounding the census. I actually filled out my census online, filled out the census online. And, I just think that it's important that everybody gets to the place where we are moving in the realm of citizenry and not just off of our own whims, because at the end of the day, I'm of the belief that government, they don't care if we do this or not. It's better for them. It gives them the opportunity to put money in other places. So one of the things that I'm going to do, like I said, we're just going to try to run through this show real quick. My brother Josh will be on. Some of my other brothers couldn't make it tonight. So I'm going to run through this real quick. And the first thing I'm going to do is read Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution. Matter of fact, let me share my screen real quick. All right, so for those that say that the census is somehow, our people just, and it's not just our people, it's American society in general. They live off of conspiracy theories and all of this crazy nonsense. And, some of them conspiracy theories, they may formulate some basis in truth. The saying goes, every lie has a foundation in the truth. So I'm going to read Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution, which authorizes the census, making it a constitutional provision. It says representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union, according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and excluding Indians not taxed, 3/5 of all other persons. The actual enumeration shall be made within 3 years after the first meeting of the Congress of the United States, and within every subsequent term of 10 years, in such manner as they shall by law direct. The number of representatives shall not exceed one for every 30,000, but each state shall have at least one representative, and until such enumeration shall be made, the state of New Hampshire shall be entitled to choose 3, Massachusetts. So right at the end of it, it gives you a breakdown. So basically, for those Moors, I call them the faker Moors, that talk about, we are not supposed to be paying taxes. It's like it's right there. It's right in the Constitution. If I'm not mistaken, it's in the Constitution in 2 different spots. But this particular section opens up with representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union. And it's giving you the breakdown of why the census is really necessary. For number one, the main reason, as this section in the Constitution, Article 1 lays out, is so that they could have the proper number of representatives for each state. And at the end, it tells you 1 for every 30,000. Oh, excuse me. The number of representatives shall not exceed 1 for every 30,000, but each state shall have at least 1 representative. So some states have more representatives than others. And this is one of the things that the Constitution is really serving to do in this regard. And that's give us the idea of how people are counted and the purposes for which they're counted by using the standard that this country was built upon, and that is a democratic republic, meaning a representative government, whereas the representatives speak for the average layman who may not know all of the political jargon, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm gonna read, where do I want to go with this now? Okay, why does the census matter, right? So let me share my screen again. Let me share my screen again. Hold on one second. Okay, and this is from a website called econofact.org. It says census data are used to apportion multiple federal funding streams. In fiscal year 2015, census data were used to determine the allocation of $675 billion for 132 programs, including Medicaid, SNAP, Section 8 housing, choice voucher program, Head Start, highway planning and construction. A lot of these areas, SNAP, Section 8, Medicaid, are things that our people are, or make up the large majority of the recipients of these programs. It says the top 5 programs by amount of funds that use census-based population numbers and population characteristics to determine fund distribution in fiscal year 2015 were Medicaid, $311 billion, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. SNAP. It's just giving you a breakdown of what it just said, that how census data is being used, right? And for those of us who are descendant of this institution called American slavery, we could also understand how this gets used. The sister, Kaba Nepti Ump, said something in the chat. I'm gonna put it up on the screen. She said, peace, brother Lord Abba. I feel the census is extremely important as it aided me in locating my great-grandparents and their prospective job titles. 1920 census and a few others on my grandparents. Me as well. I was able to go all the way back to, I believe, 1870, where I was able to find my great-great-grandparents. So, you know, there are things that the census is absolutely vital for a nation. And the United States of America is not the only group that takes a census count. I'm going to bring my brother Josh on in a few minutes, but I want to read this other article, and it's called How the U.S. Census Misses the Mark on Race. And this is coming from The Guardian. Let me do another quick screen share for this. Hold on one second. Boom, boom, boom. I got to go back. Matter of fact, I have to unshare this. Okay, so this is from The Guardian, and it reads, the mammoth task of conducting the 2020 U.S. Census is already underway. But the last time, 9% of Black people in the U.S. were simply missed at a rate that was higher than any other racial or ethnic group. Let me stop right there for a minute. If you've seen the last show that we did, I was breaking down how we are always disproportionately, we as a people are always disproportionately represented by all of the bad stuff in America. And here, I mean, there's no difference, right? We see the same thing. It says the Census Bureau also double counted 4% of Black residents and were able to make educated guesses about another 3%. So they were left with a net undercount of 2%. Let me interject here, because imagine we as a people not being counted, not because we don't want to be counted necessarily, but because we have absolutely no interest in the census. We have no, as a people collectively, the most of us, the majority of us, have no interest in the political platform, and we don't understand how the census plays a role in our life. And this is why political education, a civic education, is so vital. Let me finish. There are many reasons why people are missed by the Census Bureau. Residents can be hard to contact. For example, if they live in inaccessible places, hard to interview if they have limited English proficiency, hard to locate if they are homeless or have been displaced by a natural disaster, and finally, hard to persuade. People who are angry or distrustful of government can fall into this group. I know I was like that. I shoot away census takers from my door before. But the dude, I was trying to say I was Moorish, and they didn't have a category for me. And the dude was like, don't worry, I'm gonna just put you down as black anyway, and walked away. So that was funny. It says many of these obstacles are likely to be higher for non-white residents of the U.S., and so people of color are systematically undercounted. And it goes on to speak about gender and age being a factor as well. It says black children are twice as likely to be undercounted as children who aren't black. And since the criminal justice system incarcerates black people at 5 times the rate of white people, prison gerrymandering can occur. Young black men will be counted by the census as residing within a prison, which inflates the population count and political representation of census tracts with prisons and further deprives the black communities where many of these men will ultimately return. Now, the sad part about that last statement is that they count us in the prisons, but we're not being counted in our homes. We're being undercounted, as this article elucidates, right? But in being counted by our government or the local government, well, no, this is a federal government thing, by the prison population, it doesn't, that representation doesn't give us the budget needed to go to our neighborhoods. Instead, the governors of these particular states will use that money that the federal government gives them and reallocate that into a bunch of what's called pork and other types of programs. Like, this thing is really, really crucial for us to understand. Brother Josh, jump in whenever you want. But this is really crucial for us to understand, because on the one hand, we represent the highest incarceration rate in the country, in the nation. And the governments of the local governments, I should say, are slick enough to know that if we're counted in the population, although we make up the majority of the prisons, we can use that money to revitalize highways and things of that nature. And so our neighborhoods never really get the proper funding needed to basically build. I'm going to check some of the comments in the chat real quick, because I got to pay attention to I can't look at the chat without my co-host / correspondents on. Peace to the fam. Sister Cynthia McDonald said, I was able to trace my family back to slavery just using the census. It is a very vital piece of data to help establish our justice claims. Hashtag ADOS. That's a fact. Sister Kaba Nepti Unk said, right, apathetic, lack of concern, because you know that they don't care about us. Peace to my brother, Broken Blade Smith Bay, Islam Moore. And I wanted to run through those real quick, because I think that it's vital for us to get an understanding of the importance of the census. Now, the second element of this has to do with the Moorish concerns and what we should put on the census. As a matter of fact, before I do that, I'm going to bring my brother Josh in and let him give his measure, and then I'll come back and address the Moorish concern. Okay, it looked like my brother dropped off, so I'm going to go in, right? So there's a debate in the Moorish community about what we should put on the census. And like Noble Drew Ali, whom I give eternal honors to, eternal, because to me, again, out of all the leaders that came to us, his information was just 100% right and exact. I could poke holes in the historicity of every other doctrine. And it wasn't just some ancient history. It was things about American history that many of us was simply unaware of. There are things that Prophet Noble Drew Ali taught about American history that a lot of professors, a lot of people that are what you would call constitutional professors missed the mark on, believe it or not. And so he, like I always say, he serves as my political base. So one of the things that he taught was, anybody know what CRT is? It's critical race theory. It was coined by this brother, I forget his name. It may have been the 70s or the 80s. And in critical race theory, what it does is it breaks down the illusion of race, right? And in this book, White by Law, Ian Haney Lopez, this is another excellent resource because it goes to show just how much of an illusion race is. And I'm going to get into some of that in a few minutes. But the American Anthropological Association, they put out a report challenging Federal Directive 15. And for those of you who are unaware of Federal Directive 15, let me pull that up real quick because I think I need to add that into the conversation when talking with my Moorish brothers and sisters. I'm going to read this real quick because this, coming from the American Anthropological Association, was a challenge to the Office of Management and Budgets, the OMB for short. It was a challenge to their racial classification under Federal Directive 15. And if anybody pulls up Federal Directive 15, which was passed in 1977, one of the things that it says about these racial classifications, and 5 are listed, it says that these racial classifications are not determined by anything scientific or anthropological, which means that they're using socio-political constructs to create what we view as race. And Ian Haney Lopez, in this book, he gives you the history of what's known as the prerequisite cases. I urge everybody to get that book. Also, Theodore W. Allen's book, 2 volumes, The Making of the White Race, Part 1 and Part 2. These are invaluable resources in understanding race and, in my opinion, breaking the psychological grip of what's called white supremacy on our people, on our minds specifically. One of the things Noble Drew Ali said was the only form of slavery you have now is mental slavery. And he said the label Negro, Black, and Colored are names that delude to slavery. So let me read from this article. It reads, the American Anthropological Association, that's a tongue twister, recommends the elimination of the term race from OMB Directive 15 during the planning of the 2010 census. During the past 50 years, race has been scientifically proven to not be a real natural phenomenon. More specific, social categories such as ethnicity or ethnic group are more salient for scientific purposes and have fewer of the negative racist connotations for which the concept of race was developed. Again, Ian Haney Lopez shows in the book that they're using the racist German anthropologists' racial classifications of Friedrich Johann Blumenbach, who separated man into 5 distinct races, putting in a hierarchical manner, putting the white race at the top and the black race, or whom he called the Ethiopian, at the bottom. Black is more of an American thing. And in the prerequisite cases, this is used as a determinative of who would represent what race. So when Prophet Noble Drew Ali says that our nationality was stripped from us in the year of 1979 and the names Negro, blacks, and colored were given to the Moors of America, we get a better understanding, those of us that study his teaching. So let me continue. It reads, yet the concept of race has become thoroughly and perniciously woven into the cultural and political fabric of the United States. It has become an essential element of both individual identity and government policy. So if you understand the history of redlining and all of the things that we've touched on and we're going to touch on this show, books like The Color of Law by Rothstein, I got that on my desk somewhere as well. This book right here, when affirmative action was white, is another book where they're using race to make determinations on who get what money and which loans go to who, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, ADOS, those of us who descend from American slavery, we were always getting the short end of the stick. And a lot of that comes from, in my opinion, the psychology of race. And one of the things that Ian Haney Lopez breaks down in his book, White by Law, is this term called race consciousness. And Noble Drew Ali was trying to pull us out of this whole construct because as he taught, he had us call him a name, white, and then gave us a name that was inferior to his, black or Negro. You know, and one day I'm going to do a whole show on the false construct of race. That's coming real soon. So I'm going to skip past some of this and close this particular article out with this. And then I'm going to bring my brother Josh on. It says, this is the dilemma and opportunity of the moment. It is important to recognize the categories to which individuals have been assigned historically in order to be vigilant about the elimination of discrimination. Yet ultimately, the effective elimination of discrimination will require an end to such categorization and a transition towards social and cultural categories that will prove more scientifically useful and personally resonant for the public than our categories of race. Redress of the past and transition for the future can be simultaneously affected. So the way I am interpreting what the American Anthropological Association is saying is that from this, you're going to be forced to deal with this issue of reparations, in my opinion. It closes out, the American Anthropological Association recognizes that elimination of the term race in government parlance will take time to accomplish. However, the combination of the terms race/ethnicity in OMB Directive 15 and the census will assist in this effort, serving as a bridge to the elimination of the term race by the census 2010. Of course, they didn't follow that standard. So, you know, that to my Moorish brothers, I want to say that the census is something that has to be challenged. You have to challenge the census. It's not something that we can just write in and then automatically be recognized, because what you may ultimately end up doing, if you go back to the article that I read, is that you might be taking monies away from those from the other citizens in your local region. So we have to be very careful with some of the rhetoric that we're spewing, because if we're not, we could be doing more harm than good trying to push a dogmatic point. So, Brother Josh, come in whenever you can. I'm going to look into some of the chats. Peace to everybody. All right, I hear you, bro.
Peace. Hey, just y'all send me out here with the mask. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you, bro. What you in the supermarket?
Yeah, man, I had to make the last minute run.
I feel you.
Minute run, man. Because this is the time to shop, because I don't know if you can see, but there's not that many people in the store.
Oh yeah, that's a fact. I see.
Yeah, all the shelves is restocked, man. So, but yeah, I just wanted to hop in when you were talking about the census, and you were talking about how it allows us to have like access to the records. Man, I was researching my ancestry last week, And I think I told you about it. I was trying to find out about my grandfather, my great grandfather, and all of that kind of stuff, man. And I just saw how it kind of stopped at, I think, 1880 or 1890 or something like that, and it was hard for me to find records past that. Um, but I mean, just because they had placed, they had participated in that in history, it gave me, over 100 years later, the ability to track them. And then we look at things from the standpoint of resources allocated. I mean, with this ADOS movement, one of the main things that powers that is the data. So now we have the financial data, the economic data that shows our wealth positioning, which undergirds our justice claim. So if we didn't have the economic data to back that up, I mean, see, if we didn't have the census, we wouldn't be able to get the economic data, because we wouldn't understand where the numbers of people are located.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I just wanted to add in that point real quick.
Definitely. A brother posted in the chat, DeAndre Blanded. He said, "Tell me where white supremacy respects Moorish American. Power respect power. You saw them white folks marching with their guns. That's what they respect." I mean, I don't know if your question is towards the Moors in general, if you're identifying people as Moors, or if you're just saying identifying yourself as that is don't really mean nothing, because at the end of the day, you got people showing up on courthouse steps with with AKs and ARs, and I seen that myself,
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't really know too much how to address that question, because I don't really understand the context of it, but I do understand what you mean when you say that that's the only power they respect. But that's just unfortunately not the whole truth. What they respect is power and voting numbers. And one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to put a clip together of Tupac talking about how he was going to start this new political party. And one was an interview and one was in a recorded phone call with him and a brother named Monster Cody from the West Coast, where he's talking about how he's going to start this political party, and how he was going to pull all of our people together, our Spanish speaking people, the Hebrews, you lost tribe mother effers, and he ain't say mother effer. So I'm going to put that together. I may use that as my opening in the show, but until we get involved with local government, we are missing the mark. And I think it's incumbent upon us. Let me tell a quick story, real quick. I've told this story before. I want to tell it again. Gregory Meeks, he came to the housing projects. He's a New York congressman now, but then he was the city councilman over my district in Far Rockaway, Queens, New York. And he came through. He was trying to get a sister elected. And he came over there, and I was talking all this ultra deep stuff that when I look back on it now, didn't really mean much besides the facts of me saying, like, we basically really don't trust y'all. But I was saying, using pseudo etymology, like poly means many, and a tick is a bloodsucker. Obviously, that's not the obviously that's not the etymology of politics. But I was sharp enough for the brother to want me to have worked with him, and, on a volunteer basis. At that time, I was hustling. I wasn't trying to do that. But as I tell the story all the time, I wish I had, because I would have gained a political education back then that's needed. And I think cats like myself, coming from the housing projects of New York City and the hoods from all across the United States of America, like we gotta find a way to become more politically active, because that was one of the things that Tupac said in that phone call. He was like, imagine me, Tretch, Redman, and Ice Cube, and we like in New Jersey somewhere, and we just jumping out on all in the hood on all the corners, and people see us four getting out the car and like, yo, you the big homie? Who your big homie? Take me to your big homie. And then we just start gathering everybody under a political, under our own political party. Tupac was like, yo, that's power. And that element of what Tupac was saying is lost on us today. We have to find a way to rally the hood, and that's a part of what this Be the Power movement is about. Sister Cynthia McDonald said, you Oswald Bates dumb fan. Yeah, I was doing a little Oswald Bates back then. I didn't realize it. I thought it was something real deep coming out my mouth there, you know. But yeah, so you wanted to add anything to that, Brother Josh?
Nah, I just feel like, that's the energy. That's a whole sect of people that are lost out in this process. I feel like, it's a generation that been through, uh, what I feel like what Pop was doing in the position that he was in.
Mm-hmm.
He would have carried out some of that had he had things gone different, or had he still been able to live. And I think when you take those people out of the equation, and then you put in a whole lot of money into a movement such as hip hop, then that kind of like dissuades people from trying to carry out that. They just want to get to the bag and enjoy the fruits of that. And so, I mean, somebody has to pick up the mantle, and somebody has to reinvigorate the people who would have been energized and empowered and putting the pressure on the system, because the reality is we're in a worse economic position now collectively than we were then.
Facts.
And with this thing, it's going to be much worse. We talking about, the clip we played last week. The brother was talking about this may set us back to the 50s and 60s.
That's right. That's right.
So
he has God. He said, man, this whole thing with the coronavirus and everything that's going on economically may set our people back to the times of the 50s and the 60s. Like everything, like, let me speak to the Moors real quick, Josh. Noble Drew Ali laid specific duties on us. When he first incorporates the movement in Illinois in 1926, it's incorporated as a non for pecuniary profit organization with the complexion of a civic organization. This is what that nonprofit was categorized as. A lot of people don't know the history because they never really read any of this stuff. But me and my bros, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, shout out to my bros. We did the research, and I mean, we just showed and proved. We did a bunch of shows on this. But as a civic organization, when Noble Drew Ali incorporated, one of the things that he said was, we are trying to teach our people those things that will make them better citizens. That was the first mandate. And so Noble Drew Ali taught civics for the first 3 years in Chicago. And I can't wait to get to that show. I've been building some ideas in my head. I just thinking about this whole coronavirus thing and being down in the South, like my mind has been just scattered. I'm just going to be honest with y'all, in a bunch of different directions. Doing these particular live streams have been therapeutic for me, to be honest. So, but in teaching civics, there are several articles that come out of the Moorish Guide back in those days, all registering, political slave, and several other aspects where Prophet Noble Drew Ali spoke about casting what was called the sacred ballot. And that's why, I got a sister in the chat right now. I think she's from Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, Sister Cynthia. She was at the ADOS conference when we were in Kentucky. this past October. And she was at the table. We were all in this vegan spot. So, one of the brothers was like, yeah, I think I recognize you, man. You do the Moorish videos, right? You Moorish. I'm like, yeah. So we start getting into that discussion. And, the brother was kind of shocked that the information that I was telling him was different from all of what he heard about what the Moorish information is in the public, which is a bunch of sovereign citizen, pseudo-legal mumbo jumbo, right? So, I mean, I don't think that the Moors are doing their job. The Moors that claim to represent Prophet Noble Drew Ali are doing their job and spreading the word. Because right now we need coalitions. We don't need to be harping on the fact if people call themselves black or not. We need to be forging political coalitions because Prophet Noble Drew Ali was working with the people of his day. It's like it is what it is. So, and I bring that story up to say that people don't know the political work that Prophet Noble Drew Ali put in. It's something that we could look back on all the way in the early 1920s, along with people like Hubert Harrison, aka the Harlem Radical. I mean, people just don't know about this brother. I got a whole big book in here somewhere, and I got books all over my crib, everywhere. I mean, like literally everywhere. But it's in here somewhere. Hubert Harrison, he was another one that really set up the economic base. When I look at his works politically, I'm shocked Noble Drew Ali ain't shout him out because him and Garvey fell out after a while. He was calling Garvey an egomaniacal. He called Garvey a bunch of stuff I ain't going to repeat right now because we love Garvey, right? But that man's mind politically was great. And I think as Moorish Americans, it's our duty, particularly those of y'all that still claim to be repping the Moorish Science Temple of America hard, it's y'all's duty to be out there pushing that line in the streets. It can't just be about putting a fez on and a cape if you wear a cape and whatever it is that some Moors be wearing and some of these temple groups. If you're not being active in your government, have you ever been to a city council meeting, a board of education meetings where you're just sitting down with your local politicians in general? I have, right? I could talk about that because I've been there. So if, we got to start building towards that. And I think this conversation of the census is vital because if you're going to take the position that we're not going to put Black or African American, we're just going to put Asiatic or Moorish American in the box and click other, you're taking the funds away from your community. You have to put the political legwork in first. You cannot leapfrog the process. You can't do it. And you have to set the example by the American Anthropological Association basically gives us the blueprint on how to do this. We need to, like, they give us a groundwork, if you will, on how to challenge race, along with the fact that Prophet Noble Drew Ali said it was a sin to call ourselves Black. This is another thing that attracted me to the ADOS movement because they started to question this identity that we have on us. And I'm like, well, this fits right in with what Prophet Noble Drew Ali was teaching, right? So, I mean, let me look at some of these comments. Gray L, jump in when you want to look like your screen is froze. But let me see. ADOS love Garvey more than this on land. Sister Cynthia said, that's a fact. I mean, we canonize Garvey in our Moorish American religious text. But when politically, Hubert Harrison was the man. And I'm going to put all of those book links in the chat when it's over with as well that I've mentioned. Hubert Harrison politically was the man all the way back in the early 1920s. If you want to know what true socialism is, go read the works of Hubert Harrison, because all of our movements have been socialist movements. And really, the census is almost socialism, right? If you go back and read what I was reading, why does the census matter? You know, it says in fiscal year 2015, census data was used to determine the allocation of $675 billion for 132 programs, including Medicaid, SNAP, the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program, Head Start, highway planning, and construction. That's socialism. In any stretch of the word, that's socialism. So one of the things that we need to do right now is we gotta build. We gotta stop thinking that we know it all. If I have a countervailing view, then it's incumbent upon you to sit down and challenge that view so we could get it right. I don't care what you identify yourself as. This is not just me speaking to the Moorish Americans. You could be Afrocentric, Hotep, Egypt, Kemet, whatever. We are underrepresented in this land, as I've read from that article from The Guardian. And because of this, monies are not going to our neighborhoods. We're being boxed out. And the census is so important in doing that. And I got to urge you all, fill out your census report, man. If they mailed it to you, there's going to be a code. Go online, fill it out. It take a little minute. It take like 35, 40 minutes to fill that joint out. But most of us are in the house right now. And I just hope that I can encourage some of you to do that because it's important. Tell cats in the hood, if you listening to this and you from the hood, like, yo, man, we need to start filling out these census forms so they can start allocating more monies into fixing up our neighborhoods. When construction projects are going on in our own neighborhoods, and I don't care where you're at, they're usually bringing in outside people, especially in New York. You would see a bunch of Polish and Italian cats on the construction site, and 2 or 3 people that look like us, and maybe 2 of them were Jamaicans. They wasn't even ADOS, right? So I just think that it's vital, man, that we really get some of our people on board. Brother Jemiah Jackson said we need to push for more Black contractors, and that's a fact, and that's a part of filling out the census. That's a part of having money go to where it's needed. People, without the federal budget money going into these areas, a lot of our conditions, they never ever change. They stay the same. And we have to come to grips with that fact that a lot of what's needed to change the condition in our neighborhoods is on us. Me and my bros debate about one of Noble Drew Ali's lines where he said, I've traveled to the South and I've examined conditions there, and it is the works and the actions of my own people that have brought about mistreatment and Jim Crowism. Because what Noble Drew Ali basically was getting at was that after 1865, it was incumbent upon us to step up as citizens. And of course, we got to understand the things that our people had been through psychologically and mentally, and not being properly educated and being hung and lynched and going to the polls. But yet and still, it hurt us by not participating. And so a lot of the things that we do that are anti-governmental simply stems more from fear than it is from distrust. Sister Cynthia says, yes, it is, and it baffles me why folks get triggered when they hear socialism. No nation functions without a strong social component. That's because big, greedy corporations, they like their free market capitalism, where the big fish eat all of the little fish, and the only thing that the little fish get to eat is the defecation of the big fish, basically. So, I mean, in that area, it is what it is. Brother Grayel, I'm going to bring you back on, bro.
Yeah, man. My bad. Just checking out.
Definitely.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to say, I understand why a lot of us are very skeptical of the government, whatever government agency it is, and that it will be something that will be harmful or detrimental to us. I understand. We have every reason to be skeptical. The same reason we have every reason to be skeptical about coronavirus, and we shouldn't necessarily easily dismiss any ideas, because we've been lied to, we've been abused, we've been cheated, we've been killed, we've been tested and experimented on, we've been exterminated, we've been enslaved. But certain things we have to also, I mean, the same way we can be conspiratorial, can we actually try to do things within this system sometimes? And the reason I say that is because what if we've been fighting the power so long? What if we became the power?
What if we became the power?
What if we became the power? And I think part of doing that is like, let's look at like voting, for example. We say, well, our vote don't matter. Okay, then let's look at the actions that would make that true. If our vote didn't matter, would we have seen Joe Biden win the Democratic nomination, or would it have been somebody else like Bernie Sanders? Because Bernie Sanders pretty much said, "Negro, your vote don't matter." Basically. That's why I'm going over here to Latinos.
And we still voted for him. And Bernie, that was by my bad.
Yeah. And Biden said, "I know your vote matter, but you don't demand anything for it, so I don't need to work for it. You're gonna give it to me because you associate me with Obama." So Biden understood it. But we didn't demand anything for it. We didn't make him work for it. So he just had it. So what my point is saying, okay, we said voting doesn't matter. We've seen that it does matter, because our vote was a vote that swung the Democratic nomination.
That's
so now let's look at the census. Well, we're saying that doesn't matter. Then why are they manipulating the census to try to get us to not have the proper numbers, so we get less funds allocated to our community, or to use the prison and do things like count us in the areas where there's prisons and things like that, to where those numbers are counted in other neighborhoods that already have the money. See, there's a bag. Government is a bag of money, and either you're gonna just acquiesce and let that bag of money get allocated somewhere else, or you're gonna fight and become the power and make sure that your bag is secure for your people. Fight as best you can to that. So that's how I look at this thing. So a lot of times when I hear my Moorish brothers, and I'm in the car, I can take this off.
I was going to say that, but I didn't know if you just wanted to keep it on, because I do that sometimes. I get in the car after I leave out the store. I'll be done drove like a half mile. I'm like, man, well, I still got this mask on. I don't need it on right now.
All right, yeah. So a lot of times, man, I see a lot of our Moorish brothers. They're like, well, we need to put Moorish American, or we need to put this. And look, like it or not, right now, they look at us as black folks. They look at us as Negroes, blacks, and coloreds, or whatever you want to use, African American. But we all know that we suffer from the same condition, because we are still paying the cost of coming from slavery, Jim Crow, de jure and de facto segregation. So we're still paying those costs. So that's something we can splinter into all these groups, but at the end of the day, that's the thing that binds us all together. So look, if we need to be a part of the census, we need to be a part of the system, because why is it that we're the least wealthiest group? We're at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic, but we're also the least likely to participate in the system where resources are getting allocated. Like, what sense does that make? Yeah,
it makes no sense. Makes none. It's crazy. Go ahead, bro.
No. So none of I understand why we have healthy skepticism, but I just think I wish we would channel that into something that can be powerful, because conspiracy theories and your idea and thinking it doesn't matter is definitely not going to help. It's definitely not going to put resources in the community where it's needed. It's definitely not going to open it up to where contracts are being negotiated. And then when it comes time to make a claim, it's definitely not going to help when when we can't even get the data right because we're underrepresented because people are not filling out the census. We need these numbers because we need representation. So when economic studies and stuff come out, when they need to study it, figure out the data, they can be like, damn. Like we were just talking about this the other day, right? We were debating. It was a Facebook post debate. It was a brother that says America runs off ADOS being a permanent underclass. We have to flip the tables. Facts. So we were having this talk with a brother on Facebook, and he was like, well, there are 380,000 millionaires, black, quote unquote, black millionaires in the United States. That's enough. That's enough. We can come together and we can do this. I'm like, first off, there's 18 point as of a report that came out via Credit Suisse at the end of last year. There's 18.5 million millionaires in the United States. Out of that 18.5, I believe according to his numbers, we got 380,000. That's not even 2%. I think that's like 2.1%. So we got 2% of the millionaires, but we 13% of the population. So we have the same amount of millionaires. I'll say it another way. We have the same amount of millionaires as if we were only 2% of the population and been here 400 years. I'll use that number and it built the country. So how is it that we are okay with that and we're not okay with fighting for something that will allow us to allow us to present the case with the actual data? So I just want to say that piece.
No, facts. I mean, and that's why I'm going to always go back to stressing the point of what this platform is dedicated to, which is being the power. We got to start rallying in a way, inshallah, man, Allah willing or God willing, as some say, this plague blows over with. I don't know, these crazy Republicans, man, they opening up. These people who are crazy. They bugged out, just don't understand. I mean, I understand that's
we need to talk about that let's talk about that real quick too. Go ahead, brother.
All right, so they're opening up. I'm in the state of Georgia. Everybody know I'm from New York. I guess y'all could tell by all the hats I wear. They always New York, right? But I live in the state of Georgia, and this governor, this guy's an idiot. He's just incompetent, man. Like, he's just incompetent. It's just baffling to me that people would elect this guy, but we got Trump as president, so it is what it is. But he's opening up all businesses in the state, restaurants, movie theaters, barbershops, hair salons, places where this virus is going to devastate people, devastate them. And the numbers, a report was put out on Monday, just on Monday, on the number of cases in Georgia. And they started from, this report was put out on Monday. And it started from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, the report came out. It get every single day, the numbers of cases and deaths were just growing and growing and growing and growing. How do you ignore that and then tell businesses that they could open back up instead of just keeping in place the things that need to be kept in place? Is just going to be worse in the long run. Atlanta is, in my opinion, I just think Atlanta is going to be a mini New York, because Atlanta is like a mini New York. And I just think this thing is going to get progressively worse before it gets bad. And this just may be America's wake-up call. All of our wake-up call that it's time for some action on many different levels, politically and spiritually. And this is what Be the Power is stepping up to be, man. I'm going to be exploring running for local office. I implore all of you to do the same, or if you know somebody that you feel from where you grew up at that would make a good local representative, like, it's time for us to start pushing, because this virus is not only showing us, I guess, a karmic debt, it's also showing us that when America gets a cold, Black America, as we're called, gets the coronavirus. Go ahead, Brother Josh.
That's true. That's true. And it's interesting that, as I'm sure a lot of us have noticed, that they are opening up the cities where we have a large presence. Look, they opening up a lot of these happening in the states where we have a large presence. And I know part of that is just being in the South, and being in red states. But I mean, that's so dangerous, fam. Don't leave your crib. Yeah. I mean, that's why I came to the store at 8:59. Or whatever time, 8:50 when I came here, when it closes at 9 o'clock, because I was like, man, I need to avoid people. But yeah, it's unfortunate that a lot of us, it's amazing that we'll say the government is coming after us, and it's a conspiracy that the government's trying to kill us on one hand, but then when it comes time to they're opening up, then we trust them all of a sudden. Okay, it's good. No, like we got to pick one. Just pick one. I would say pick one.
Stay on it. You can't play both. That's what Fab said.
Yeah, I mean, pick one. Pick one.
All right, I want to address a question real quick, and this is coming from the YouTube chat. It says, "Peace, y'all. How will Temple Moors be Black on a census when Drew Ali said not to claim it?" You missed the early portion of this show, Brother Donald Lee. And like, we got to really read Prophet Noble Drew Ali's words carefully when we're making a lot of these assessments. A lot of our sentiment is based off of our own feelings. Humans latch on to a thing and we become obsessively dogmatic. I don't care what that thing is. I know some atheists who are religiously dogmatic, right? So, yeah, Noble Drew Ali said that no one can change the descent nature of man, which is why he said we are Moorish Americans, unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator Allah himself. So we understand that. However, we still have this dilemma. And as I read from the American Anthropological Association's challenge to the Office of Management and Budget's Federal Directive 15 and their racial classifications, which are not based on anything scientific or anthropological, as I brought up, I'm going to hold this book up again so everybody can see it. This book right here, White by Law by Ian Haney Lopez, speaking about the prerequisite cases and race consciousness. We, as Moorish Americans, have never challenged the racial classification to which the government admits does not come from anything scientific or anthropological. As Lopez notes in his book, it comes from popular usage all the way back since the 1870s. See, there was a battle between scientific theory, where they would study craniums and all of this stuff, and popular usage. When the scientific theory began to fall on its face, when the justices started to employ other scientists to counter some of that racial stuff that determine who was what race by their craniums and other things that they deemed scientific at that time, the courts decided that, you know what, that's too complicated. We're white because we say that we're white. and we get to determine who's going to be white and not white. But these were cases that were brought in federal and Supreme Court by people that was trying to become citizens of the United States of America. Our problem was we lost the history of our identities, whether we knew ourselves as Moors or not. So what Noble Drew Ali did was took this one broad ethnic identity, and if you read that American Anthropological Association's debate on race, on their challenge, they speak about that, right? It's now incumbent upon us to challenge these things, because I could look at my simple skin tone and see that it's not black. My brother Josh is like 4 shades lighter than me, right? It don't make no sense saying light-skinned black man, right?
Right.
And I got brown skin, like with brown skin black people. Like, just think about it. My headphones, you could clearly see are black, and you could distinguish them against my brown skin. And this is one of the things that Prophet Noble Drew Ali been speaking about since the 1920s. And it's unfortunate, brother, that his message has been taken so far out of context, man. But we gotta fight that. All right, my brother, hold on. My brother, Lord Merk Bay, said, yo, word to my mother, you break my heart like that and tell me you put black. You know, that's that New York talking right there. Shout out to my little bro, man. But at the end of the day, bro, please hear me out. If I don't put black on a census, because, and I'm speaking to you as a Moorish American, because the Moors of the past generations failed to put in the legwork needed so that Moorish American could be a category that I could check under maybe the subclassification of African American, maybe, right? As opposed to black, because we teach that it is a sin to call yourself by this name. Number one, it's a name that deludes to slavery, and that's just a fact. But if I don't do that, bro, then money is not gonna come into the neighborhood. Now imagine you in Harlem. Wait, hold on. You in Harlem, B? I gotta get my Harlem on real quick. Right, you in Harlem, B? Imagine you got 100 Moors in Harlem, and y'all are in a specific district. Let's just say 200 Moors. Y'all are that people that identify themselves as Moorish Americans. You're in Harlem, and we using the census the way that it is now. But y'all decide that we're not gonna put black. We're gonna put Moorish American or Asiatic in the filling space. Like, these government people are grimy. They're looking for every extra dollar that they can. So one of the things that they're gonna do is they're gonna just discount the people that did fill out the census and just use that money and just put it somewhere else. That's all they're gonna do, as opposed to that money coming back into the community where it's needed for whatever type of programs. Like, we gotta just have and this is what I'm saying, bro, we gotta have a real discussion on this. The Hegelian dialectic, if you're not familiar with it, look it up. Hegel's dialectic, problem, reaction, solution, which has been broken down to thesis, antithesis, synthesis. If you disagree, I disagree. Our duty as two wise men, if we're wise men, is to sit down and pore over the facts. Because the moment my opinion or my belief trumps the fact, I am no longer an honest or credible person. And my word should never be trusted again, period. So we have to put the facts on the table. And we have to sit down and say, this is what it is. And so long as this is what it is, we're gonna have to do this until. What are we doing to challenge the racial classification system? So, I just wanted to address that, bro, because we're not really, I see you. I see what you're saying. And look, it's fair on what you're saying. You said you never seen nobody from the neighborhood never get benefit the census. Most of us don't even fill a census out. This is what I'm saying, bro. No, I was saying earlier, I don't know if you caught that part, that Noble Drew Ali laid a civic duty on us. So it's our job to go door to door like Jehovah Witnesses if we have to, and say, yo, y'all know the census is coming up, and that if we don't fill out our census form, our neighborhoods are going to stay poor. That building across the street that been dilapidated, that could have been a soul food restaurant or a fish market owned by one of us, is going to stay like that, which is a blight in our neighborhood for the next 10, 20 years, or until somebody come buys it up and make it. Like, again, bro, we got to start having some real serious conversations, because look, that's the thing that I told Gregory Meeks. Like, yo, y'all been coming around here since I can remember, since I started realizing, like around 12 years old. I was in my 20s at the time when we met. I'm like, ain't nothing changed in my neighborhood at all. I mean, we got some parks fixed up and we got some new benches in the projects, but ain't nothing changed. So that's why I say the census is important, because we gotta like really, like, we got to understand that part of it. I'm not trying to, I don't have to be right. I'm not one of them dudes that have to be right. I'm one of them dudes that likes to be right. And in liking to be right, I just got to make sure I get it right. That's why before I open up every show, I read from articles, and I read from authorities on information that may solidify whatever it is, the topic points that I'm trying to relay and get across. So, I mean, you know, we definitely, we just got to be a little bit more mindful. Brother Gray L, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I want to add on. I just want to say, you know, we have to understand that. I'm gonna stress this again and again and again. Look, what is your lineage? You know, what you know, when we're talking about the prophet, you know, what stuck with me, and I think one of the things that had me gravitate quickly to the ADOS movement was, and really when we say the ADOS movement, we're talking about the fight for reparative justice, for economic justice, and that's largely a political one. But what had me gravitate to it quickly was understanding what Prophet Noble Drew Ali was trying to do. He was trying to say, look, you're not Negro, black, and color. You know, you're Moorish American. However, you are foundational to the country. You know, you are your lineage even goes back beyond that. But there is you have to get involved with this system. Basically, he was saying you got to be the power. You got to be the power. But it was something that made me understand. All right, look. Lineage is what matters. You know, you, like, at the end of the day, I don't care what somebody calls you. Your lineage is not gonna, that doesn't change your descent line. You can change your name, you can change your, you know, for those fake Moors or whatever, the sovereign citizen, you can change your status and you can do all this. You can do things to make it to where you can feel like you have some type of escape hatch, you know. But there's even a hint of elitism that I want us to really weed out. We got to get that out of our system. But at the end of the day, your people still come from slavery? Are you still holding that cost? So yeah, nothing, like, we've been made a bottom caste. And the only way to get out of it is to, like, understand that that's the thing that brings us all together, and be a part of the collective fight. You know, now is the time to be in this, you know, I ain't gonna say be in the street. We don't want nobody to be in the street now.
Wait, real quick, Josh. I would like for you to address the comment on the screen. The sister Shamika Andrews says she wrote in ADOS on the census. I mean, again, I mean, if you check that black box, and I know that's sound crazy coming, you know, or sound crazy coming from me to a lot of the Moors, but I'm a practical thinking brother, and I'm not gonna do nothing to hurt my people. But then I can understand that. Even if you check black and wrote in Moorish American, I could understand that. But the Moors are saying we're not gonna check black or you know what I'm saying? We just writing in something that's not a part of what would be on standard form 181. And that's another thing that y'all can look up. Right? What's your thoughts on that, brother?
Yeah, I mean, when she said she wrote in ADOS on the census, I I would happen to think, that she would have known to put the check black or African American and then write in ADOS underneath that. I think that's what most people who are saying that did. Because with this, we're not trying to separate. We're not trying to make ourselves in some type of elite status, or say no, we're not black, we're not, no, we're ADOS. No, we're just saying, look, we want to be counted. There's a bag of money, there's a bag of resources, there's data, there's things that need to be collected, and we need that to count for us. No matter what you call me, I need it counted for me. And I don't. It's not the vanity thing. It's not a principle thing or dogmatic thing. I need these resources, not just for me, for my children. I need it for my parents. My friends and family members. I need it. We need this as a community. So it's nothing that we can it's nothing that we should play around with. Lineage matters. Yeah, lineage matters, man. Lineage matters. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And I mean, the fight, like, we're so far out of the fight. There's a whole lot deeper that we need, deeper things we need to be getting into.
Of course, I check black. So, and I understand that. Like I said, let me, because I got my brother, he's still in the chat going there, man. And I got some sister named Hadaya Bay. I think that's a sister. I don't know who that is, but at the end of the day, man, the facts is the facts. And I don't care what type of Bay, L, Moore, etc., you are. When you step up here, you better have your facts in order. And you better be able to back up everything. Because you can't just say, oh, Noble Drew Ali said. Because like I said earlier, many of you take this man's words out of context. And you didn't follow the proper protocols. Because most of you are not politically active at all. And Noble Drew Ali was politically active all throughout the city of Chicago. The politicians of Illinois respected that man. He had them eating out his hands, basically, because he had one of the largest collective voting blocks in the state of Illinois. So if you're not coming with the proofs, you're going to get chewed up coming here. So you could make comments and facepalm emojis all you want, but at the end of the day, because we could do another show tomorrow night, and I could bring y'all on, and if you come in here with anything other than proofs to back up what you're saying, I'm not showing no mercy. I don't care what type of more you think you is. You not getting up in here with this more, because I'm going to chew you up. And my bro's going to chew you up. Matter of fact, I could probably just sit back and let them go in, to be honest with you, because we all come from the Moorish school of thought. So I'm just saying, I'm talking hot, brother Merk Bay. You know how I do. I get real spicy with it in a second. So now we ain't gonna do the emotional stuff. I see what you referencing, and it ain't like that. I don't do that. But I would invite some more on to have this particular conversation, because like I said earlier, what he said, I'll make both of y'all a vegan chopped cheese. Stop playing. All right. Okay, you better. All right, I got you. So we're gonna have this discussion. You better consult with your Moors. Get that sister Hadaya Bay. She better start getting in her books right now. Because whenever I'm ready to have this conversation, I'm gonna be in your inbox. I'm gonna be coming for you. I'm letting you know that. So, but. And it's always in the spirit of advancement. We're not going to do the crazy, disrespectful stuff. Y'all already know me. I don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Definitely more. All right, Sister Hadaya Bay. Okay, I'll bring y'all on. We'll have a good Moorish discussion. All right. So Friday is no, tomorrow not Friday. I'm bugging. Tomorrow not Friday. So you know, yeah. Tell them, Sister Shirley, I will comfort them. You know what I mean? Let them know. Let them know. The Sister Shamika Andrews said, I respect the Moors because they teach law. That is imperative in politics. Let me touch on that too. Because a lot of people you think is teaching law that's calling themselves Moors is teaching some pseudo-legal mumbo jumbo. And if you know any of the Moors, just be like, yo, you know Brother Lord Abba? And watch their face turn up like they sucking on a lemon. All right, now, I mean, let me say, Sister Hadiah Bay, whenever there are two counter arguments, it's a debate. We could call it a discussion. The difference between me is that I'm not like crazy with it. You know, people always say that Lord Abba loved the debate. Yeah, because we got to get to the truth. If you got one side of the story and I got one side of the story, one of us is wrong. Or some of what we're saying is wrong and some of what we're saying is right. And having a discussion and having a debate about that brings about the resolution. Hence, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. The thesis is, I got an argument, you got an argument. The antithesis is, this is what I find flawed in your argument, and I'm going to prove it. And you doing the same with me. The synthesis is, now that we've eliminated what's not right and exact, it's incumbent upon us as scientists to bring the things together that we agree upon, not based on our own opinions, but on the actual research that proves the facts that we're displaying. So, you know, man, definitely. He said, I'm undefeated on the internet. That's funny. Yeah, so you know, I'm gonna come to a close in a few minutes, and yeah, Sister Cynthia, I gotta put that one up on the screen. Says y'all don't want none of Naheem Wade L, who studies logical fallacies. You are going there. That's one of my favorite studies right there. I urge everybody. I posted a link on my wall the other day about that, about logical fallacies. I mean, it's a part of the art of argument. When you know logical fallacies, can nobody slick talk you, because you see how those reporters catch people up with questions and all of these different things. I remember, let me share a quick story. One of I think it was the brother in maybe Texas. Some brother, he shot some cops. They wound up killing the brother. It could have been Texas. I can't remember if it was Texas or the brother from maybe Baton Rouge, but he claimed to be in the Moorish movement. So the media was going in. You know, whenever something happened with the Moorish movement, for whatever reason, they just go extra. And so I got a call from the Philadelphia Inquirer, I believe that's the newspaper in Philadelphia. So I'm on the phone with the reporter, and she's just going in, and she's trying her best to get me to say something or slip up and trip up or say something bad against the movement, because, you know, it's so many different groups. And I just like really literally shut her down. And when she started with the questioning, I just started laughing to myself like, nah, she ain't trying to hit me with like the Fox News, Sean Hannity type of trip up slip. Let me see if I can catch this dude questions. You know what I'm saying? So it was crazy. Thank you, Sister Kaba Nepti. And she said, awesome show. And it's crazy, right? Let me mention the sister, right? Because she's with MBK, with Amin Ra Squad, I believe. I don't know if she still rock with that crew, but that sister is more on the Afrocentric side of things. And we've had our debates. I've had my debates with Ankh and all of them guys, Rob Bourne. We just recently went at it. But at the end of the day, we know that having political power in this nation means a lot. And if we could get past that point, imagine me saying, man, I ain't going to get into no political group or coalition with that dude. He a Christian, man. He believe in white Jesus. That's the stupidest thing. I could debate you about believing in white or pale European Jesus all day. That ain't got nothing to do with how we vote, how we move politically to vote in representatives to represent our interests. And Josh, jump in anytime.
Talk about it.
You know
No,
what I mean?
that's kind of like what that's the whole point, man. That's the whole point. Because at the end of the day, like, it's like I'm gonna say it again and again. It's a big bag of money that's getting allocated. It's and think about it too. We're paying taxes. We're paying taxes, and for the longest, we've been paying taxes and not getting anything in exchange. We've been giving our vote, not getting anything in exchange. We've been fighting in wars and not getting anything in exchange. We built the country and then got left with nothing, you know, and we haven't been made a protective class. You know, if you look at, you know, we were looking at some, y'all should, man, if y'all could just see our chats, man, y'all.
Yeah, they don't
we
know
go at
about that.
all kind of
We
stuff,
be
man.
doing shows like every morning, right? Our conversations every morning be crazy.
I think this show is real, man. If you could just be a part of our chat, I mean, that's like shows in itself. It's like 5 shows every day, man. But you know, just thinking about, we're talking about you know, the Jewish community,
Mm-hmm.
and so, you know, somebody was saying, you know, on another post, well, you know, do you know how many of them got reparations in America? And then, you know, we had to talk about that. Like, you know, there's Israel. I mean, is that not considered reparations? You know, there was reparations paid by Germany. And then today, if you look at, if somebody attacks that group, there's hell to pay in the media. There's hell to pay politically. Your political career is dead. Now, when somebody attacks us or makes policy that is supremely detrimental to us, which we see damn near every week, is there ever hell to pay? Is that suicide for your political career? Is that suicide for your business? Or is that just par for the course? So that's what we're talking about. Like when we're talking about um you know, being the power, and we're talking about, you know, not disagreeing and not being on code and having coalition within our group. We're not even talking about with other groups, just within our group. When I talk about our group, I'm talking about the quote unquote black folks, Negroes, people that come from slavery, quote unquote. But we need to have coalition within our group. I don't care if you like LeBron and I like Kobe, or I like Jordan. I think that one to go. You a Christian and I'm a Muslim. You in the Moorish Science Temple of America, and I'm you know, my last name got L, Day, Bay, all that put together, and I'm not in the Moorish Science Temple of America. I'm in the Nation of Islam. I don't care. We need to be on one accord when it comes to this fight for all things for our best interest, in particular, economic justice, to lift us off the bottom.
Facts. Yeah, this is the brother Old Head Deuce. He said we should check out a brother named Kaidi Obaya Awadu weekday mornings. I mean, I you know, I'll definitely see what he's talking about. You know, we really on, I don't know if he's on American politics. And I mean, I'm not, I ain't gonna say I'm not into Pan-Africanism in the way that it was originally constructed, because I believe that our people are one everywhere, but we are just broken up into distinct tribes now. And over here in the United States of America, we like are our own tribe now. We are the co-mingled blood of various African tribes and some Europeans. Some of us don't want to admit that, but it's just a fact, which makes us uniquely American. It was one of the things Noble Drew Ali was quoted as saying was, I am going to save you, although it's hard, because your spirit is mixed, or something to that effect. Meaning, you know, we just got a bunch of different people in us. I think that's what makes us ADOS, I think, unique, man. We like the best basketball players, the best boxers, like the best baseball player. We created rap.
I mean, look at verses. Look at verses. I mean, this thing is shut down. All industry that has been perfected and squeezed and milked is shut down, right? There's like people are trying to figure out how they're gonna make money, how they're gonna do business, what's gonna be the next wave. We always creating the next wave. Versus with Timberland and Swiss Beats, they came out with broke the internet last night. Like literally, Instagram called Instagram. People from Instagram let them know they broke the internet. That's not a phrase that we're joking. They said mobile stopped working, and they created that just off of a wave, just off of sharing their art and just using the platform. So I mean, like our tribe is amazing, man. Not only the lineage, but what we had to go through, the fires that we go through that forged us into having to be this creative. To those experiences, man. It's amazing.
Shout out to the brother True Story in the chat on YouTube. That's another one of the brothers we be having our debates. But like I said, at the end of the day, man, this is where it's at. And I really need us to start having a broader discussion on politics, man. I mean, we're gonna have theological debates, historical debates, etc. But the most important debates that we should be having is political debates right now about how we should move forward, right? And the people that say that we shouldn't be into politics, like when we get together, brother True Story I'm gonna just say MBK and my group right here, BTP, aka the Supreme Team. Shout out to my squad, man. And other groups that purport to be conscious. I mean, I even throw Brother Polite in the mix. And y'all know me and Polite always bumping heads, always. But we came together on the show the other night. First time me and the brother was ever on the same side of an argument. Like once all of these type of people, all of us, I believe, I go places. I'll be in the store and people be like, yo, man, I know you from YouTube, Sarnetta TV. I'll be like, yeah, in the airport, in the bus station, it don't matter. I could be places and people recognize me from YouTube, right? So, and being on Sarnetta. And we got to start using that. That's our form of political capital. Like it's some people that follow what we say. Some of us have a larger base than others. I did a presentation on Sarnetta TV like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and I told people, I was like, whoever wants the PDF, send me an email to this presentation. I done sent like 100 and something emails to people already. Like every day is, yo, brother, can I get a copy of the PDF that you did on Sarnetta? That was a powerful presentation. So, we all got our way of approaching this problem, or whether it's identity, whether it's what we believe that we should call ourselves. But at the end of the day, man, we got to put political unity on the table. Yeah, brother True Story and MBK, I think we should get on Sarnetta one night and press him to do a little show. Matter of fact, I already said we need to have like a discussion. I'll bring my team on and we talk about where do we go from here. That was a question that Martin Luther King asked in his seminal book, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community? And that is an apt title for this day and time. Where do we go from here? Chaos or community? I think we should have that discussion on a large platform like Sarnetta's channel. Let me see. I'm about to get up off of here. Sister Shamika Andrews says, how can we not be political when politics control your life more than you do? And that's where all the money is. That's a fact. That's where the money is at. We about chasing this bag of, and it's really a bag of crumbs. And I'm just talking about the hood. When you understand that you got access to an unlimited budget by plugging yourself in politically, because why do you think these Republicans will cheat to stay in power? They're cheating in states in the South. They're engaging in all manner of voter suppression. All manner, because they want to stay in office. Like, that's where the money is at. They just pulled $2 trillion out of thin air. That was the last show that we did, breaking that down, proving that they could print up money at will or just type in a few numbers.
Now let me add this right here.
Bro.
Why is the political aspect important? Again, it's supposed to be held to pay for screwing us over. So let's look at the CARES Act. The CARES Act has so much in it to help out big business, to help out the wealthy class. The little $1,200 that they gave us was like it's like shut up money. And I saw a report that came out that said because of the tax breaks and other things that the wealthy class was given, it amounted to something like $70 billion in relief on average. The average individual, let's say you break it down to average, it was about 1.6 million per person. So you getting $1,200 and you ain't got no job, you got no wealth, and you're trying to figure out how you're gonna make it. And they getting 1.6, and their net worth is over $1 million. You know, how does that make sense? And then you look at the issue how corporations, a lot of them are giving bailout money basically, where there's little to no strings attached, where they can do the same things that they were doing to create the reckless environment that made them at risk in the first place to be up for financial ruin, which is the stock buybacks, and operating their business on a skeleton crew and just eating up all the profits. So how is that possible? And then when you talk about when you get your little $1,200, that can be eaten up if you on check systems or something. If you owe bank debt, the bank said the only one bank I saw that came out and said that they wouldn't eat up your money if you had owed them debt. All the rest of them didn't respond. So basically, a lot of people that owe $1,200 that owe money, if you owe back child support or something like that, you're not going to see that check. Yeah, my mic cut out, bro. My mic cut out. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I was
okay, yeah. So the issue is that's not supposed to happen. It's supposed to be held to pay for leaving us out to dry. If you look at the communities, I think you broke it down. I don't know if you broke it down earlier or if I was listening to something earlier, where the cities that it might have been Yvette Carnell. By the way, I don't know if you mentioned this before, but if you're watching this, please hit the like button on this video. Please hit the subscribe button on this channel if you're watching on YouTube, and click the bell to get notifications when we go live. We usually try to go live Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 8:30. Be the power. But yeah, I think it said the top 35 highest quote unquote black population cities are not getting not getting like the Federal Reserve funding or something like that. That I don't quote me on the exact terminology, but just go look that up. Pretty much, I've seen the report. The cities that need the most help, to have the most of us in it, that most of us are dying. They're getting the least help, or they get no help basically. You remember? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've seen several articles. I've just been reading all that stuff. It is.
Yeah. So how is depressing. That? That's what they're saying is we haven't made it to where. So we've made them be able to. Let me turn this light on. We've made it to where when it's time to extract the benefit from like the social and the moral capital of us, they can extract that. When they need legislation passed, they can, we give our stamp of approval, and it's like the moral stamp of approval of America. However, when it's time to put something in place where we're protected, or we get some type of thought, being a bottom caste group with no wealth, we're completely just forgotten about, or they remember to completely stomp on us. So how is that possible? That's possible because we got a lot of people that's not in the fight. It's possible because we don't have a strong political base that will make hell to pay for doing that. So that's what I wanted to add. Definitely.
So we coming to the end of the show. I didn't really know how far this show was gonna even go because my other guest wasn't coming on, my other co-host, I should say, and brother Josh got on late. So I just kind of wanted to drive the point home of why the census was important. Of course, I wanted to stretch the show out, but I really only had like 30 minutes worth of content. So I'm glad brother Josh jumped on so we could stretch the show out and then just get into our. I mean, these are conversations that we have every single day, man. We build as like 4 or 5 of us. And at some point in the day, we find a way to build because it's like, we really are trying to find a solution to this thing and do our part, play our role in advancing, whether it's reparations or what this platform is dedicated to, being the power, having more politicians. Shout out to brother Old Deuce Head. Old Head Deuce for the super chat, man. Honors, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you, brother. Donald Lee said good show. Sister Cynthia said great show. Honors, man. Honors to everybody. I'm glad y'all tuned in. But like I was saying, we gotta do this. We've come across all of these messages for a reason. Everybody that knows me knows that I was always into politics, but it wasn't until I got into the ADOS movement that it really stepped it up for another level for me. I was getting the political education that I never got before from the heads of the ADOS movement, and it helped shape my direction of where I wanted to go politically. It helped to give me a foundation by which I could push unapologetically. Like, I'm for reparations, and anybody that knows me knows that I've been for reparations for our people for years. I got a video up on my channel called Black Status versus Moorish American Nationality and the Issue of Reparations. That's about 9 years old. And although some of that stuff in that video is not historically accurate, and we find that out as we move along, because a lot of that stuff is from the old Moorish paradigm as I started to move away from that stuff. But it goes to show that was something that I had debates with other brothers that claim to be Moors against reparations. Now I question the ethnic identity of those brothers that was debating if we should get reparations or not, because it seemed like only people from the Caribbean or the continent from Africa, the majority, I should say, because you got a few of our people that say that we just asking for a handout. They bugging,
bro.
Now y'all bugging. And I've just been about that, and they've just helped me have a better understanding of not just the reparations argument, but politics in general and how it should be approached. And I think that we got to find a way to reach into the hood. I keep saying it. The hood is where our untapped votes is at, 18 and up. And I know it's not a popular thing, but we gotta find a way, inshallah, Allah willing, God willing, that this plague blows over and we don't descend into complete and utter chaos. I've been zoning about that too. Civil war breaking out down this piece. But we gotta find a way. We can't just keep singing to the choir that's on social media. We gotta find a way to put boots on the ground, to hit up these neighborhoods. We gotta find a way to get our rappers involved. And a lot of that comes from a conversation, and some of that comes from critiquing some of their positions by being unwitting puppets to a power system. Jay-Z and Beyonce shouldn't have never did that concert for Hillary Clinton. I lost so much respect for them after that. I lost so much respect for Jay-Z and Beyonce for doing that thing for Hillary Clinton, man, because she shouldn't have never been the nominee. Bernie, we come to find out, is against reparations, but in 2016, my full support was behind Bernie, period.
His positions were different then too.
Yeah, way different. So, I I see a bunch of the comments. Shout out to everybody. And definitely, yo, we gonna end it. I'm gonna end it with my mantra. And that mantra is, remember, y'all, don't just fight the power, become the power, and then you'll have the power to make a change. And with that, I say peace.
Peace.